let's get started. So you guys were identified, we did a really extensive training needs analysis, and one of the sessions was specific around the Investment Opportunity Committee. We did a training needs analysis, and there's a specific session around IOC. The specific things we're going to cover off on is just the roles and responsibilities. They really haven't changed a lot from what you've first seen, but and obviously you've all seen the terms of reference, the updated one, which is now being formally signed off by Lisa, so that's all squared away. And we'll just run through if there's any questions on that. We've done a bit more preliminary detail around the procedure, and I'll share that with you, and it's still a work in progress. So it is something that Rachel and Brooke haven't even seen, I'll just throw them together. So this is all on the run. The checklists, they are different to what you would have seen, and they've morphed a little bit, and we'll have a look at it in context to an example investment. And then we'll talk about IDF champions so that you don't have to come to the session tomorrow if you don't want to. So the Investment Opportunity Committee is the objective, and this is set out in the terms of reference, is to provide a peer review of investment opportunities at selected IDF phases to support effective and efficient decision making for the business. So obviously the 6 of you are members of that. Brooke has been added as a 6th member and is the only member under the terms of reference that stays consistent in that group. And I know we had some questions around that with the terms of reference, but that's where we landed. So it really, in essence, with the objective is to give that higher level rigour to the more complicated projects where we need to make sure we've got that decision making is informed and really transparent and really robust. So from a roles and responsibilities, this is a direct cut and paste from the corporate standards, so you're probably right across it. You're required to review you're required to review significant investments, so all of them, but only involved in gate 1, 2 and 6. So that is a difference to what we started with. It was all gates and all investments, and this was an attempt to try to scale back and not create or put the IOC where there's value and benefit rather than clog up, I guess, both you guys and also the greater projects. The advanced, standard and urgent investments are optional, whether IOC is involved, and that gets decided, typically will get decided right up front whether they're required. There is a potential, I guess, that you get partway down the track and the sponsor goes, hang on, I need a little bit more support, I'd like the IOC involved. So, but I don't see that being common, really. You'll know that up front for the type of it is. We did have questions around the advanced. There were some types of advanced projects in the capital space that we went, oh, that probably would do with the IOC, and they're ones where they have significant kind of stakeholder and a bit more risk, but they're not necessarily as significant. And we've just landed as we just need to monitor and see whether we need to put some extra controls to make those type of advance actually mandatory for the IOC, but that's kind of a monitor and see how they go. Understand the roles and responsibilities as defined in terms of reference, which is really this but a fleshed out version. Make recommendations for sponsors, so you guys don't make the decision, but definitely make a recommendation which will really support the sponsors to make that final decision. And when talking to some of the GMs, there's very much of an opinion that this group is just not a tick and flick. It's a genuine, they don't want it to come to them if you guys don't think it should. Like, it's not a, oh, sorry, it'll still go to them, but go to them with a recommendation, you know, not to approve or whatever. So there is an option for you guys to say, hey, this is just not ready. Proponent, go back and do some more. Like, don't waste time sending it up to the sponsor. To ensure that recommendations are documented and reported on as required, and will be helped and facilitated by the governance team and Rachel in here, which will be helping with that process. So we are going to use IPP to house that information, which will hopefully tick off on that. Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward, no surprises. So the IOC terms and reference, as I said, it's been signed off now formally by the CEO. You guys have all looked at it and provided input. I wasn't going to really go through it unless there was any specific detail in it that was of concern or you wanted to discuss.
So what's our term now?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Or from sign off, or
I didn't think 12 months was long enough if you wanted consistency across a project, particularly when it's only the high level ones that take usually longer than 1 year. We'd lose a bit of knowledge if we transitioned the group then. I think 2 years, we might look at staging it as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we should have the whole committee leave at the same time and bring in everyone new starting from scratch. You know what I mean? So
that was one, because I know there was discussions about that initially, and then because your role will be the stable one to share information, but yeah, it might be one of those suck and see ones around that staging one, because it's probably more work for you, Brooke, if the whole group goes and freshies.
And I think too, we'll see, you know, how things evolve in the business as well, and you might find that after 12 months, one of you might go, oh, look, I really don't, I think it might be a time for someone else to have, you know what I mean, have a go, or I've got too much on here and I'm not sure I'm giving the right value to it, should someone else sit, sort of thing. So I think there's always options for that as well. So 2 years is still a long time. I think I was trying to look it up and at least I can't find the email, but how many projects in significant at the moment? 12 off memory? There was 12 in there, but that's spread over the 10 years. I'm not sure how many are earlier.
Well, what's those other 6 that are going to land on?
No, so there are some asset type projects.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
So like Glen Lyon Road 4-laning as an example, the new road at Agnes, the second collector road, like those really big types of infrastructure. And I mean, again, that categorisation was just me going through thinking where they fell.
And to be honest, this is 1, 2, and 6. So sorry, from my memory, I don't have it in front of me. Of those 12, I think majority of them are past gate 2.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't be. They'll be in assess. Majority will be in assess.
Okay. Particularly, so I'm actually thinking, I'm not sure how much work there's going to be up front at the moment, unless someone chooses to go through IOC voluntarily for a different project.
Yeah.
And it might be worthwhile picking some advanced ones that are progressing through those earlier gates, even just to test and to get you guys, because obviously practice makes perfect in terms of learning a new process as well. So, and I'm conscious of, we haven't actually ran any projects yet through this, and I know you guys did originally went through gate 1 or gate 0, I think.
0.
So it probably is worthwhile, even if we make a conscious look potentially at pulling in ones.
Yeah. So the pool one, hopefully that we stick to the delivery timeframes with the consultancy. We'll have the concept plans and the recommendations of that work to review as an IOC. before it gets then presented through the execs and onto a decision past that gate by the boardroom.
But it's technically in select because it's in the
Yeah.
concept development, so it's not IOC.
No, select's gate 2, isn't it?
No,
Select is
that's gate
three.
3.
Yeah, you're right. So that's what I was trying to get at with, but you're right, there is 10 in assess, so no, there should be some coming out. I'm just concerned we're going to set this up and then we're not going to have anything to review for 12 months.
Well, Carly's just given me a new project, which I'm just doing up the opportunity brief now. It's a councillor special, so don't expect too much for that.
Oh, so we'll get it at gate 1 then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's probably just, isn't that all your work? Oh,
Pretty much.
this is wonderful.
It's all right. It's regionally focused, so that's all I've got.
Think about when you're sitting in that pool at Townsend, on your David, soaking in the sun rays and going,
Is that the Zen Depth? No, I've certainly got some coming up, and there's just been a flurry of councillor sort of movement in this space because I think maybe your training generated some interest, and there's some.
Brooke did a wonderful job. Brooke delivered it.
Sorry, Brooke.
I didn't do
You may have
I didn't do a
generated some
wonderful
interest.
job. I thought I said to him up front, drew the short end of the straw, getting me to present this today.
My ringing.
But yeah, so there is a proposal from Councillor Hanson to
Oh, I know which one.
put through.
But that's what we promoted. That's one of the things they were focused on was, well, how do we, they had 2 things, was how do we raise opportunities, which is a very valid point of theirs, and we used to have the SOC committee for that, and they can still do it through CIS, but they should be following this process. So we said, we'll give you a template, help you populate it, take through the process.
Scribe.
Yeah, that too. And then the other thing was they were very concerned this could bog down decision making that's needed urgently because of an opportunity we might lose otherwise. And we said, well, this is a governance process for 95% of the time. There'll be times where we have to make decisions outside of that for various reasons. This doesn't stop you doing that, but it shouldn't be the norm. And that's how we do things day to day.
It just requires a catch up from the officers end to get to where they put us under resolution.
Yeah, they were more talking about buying purchasing a block of land or something that's suddenly become available, and we don't get on it now, it'll get sold to someone else and we may look back. They were more talking those type of timely matters that we don't have. They can't necessarily go through this process.
I argue, but I've been involved with ones like that, and we've turned around in a day the problem statement, the business case, and then got to a decision of, yes, this is good, we need to buy this. So I still think that you can use the framework to go through those phase work, and you can do that quite quickly if you've got all the data at hand. You know, we did it loosely for a dump point as well.
And if it comes to the IOC, we just provide recommendations, so it can be by flying minute for them. So it's not gonna.
And we're not talking significant ones. Like if I'm buying a block of land like that, that's a standard. It'd typically be standard, so it's not even going to have anything to do. But yes, point taken. It's something until we start using it, we're not going to really know how much this slows it down or not. And that is probably going to be a testament to how quickly sponsors turn these things around as well, and how long it sits on their desk. So, okay, no other questions about the terms of reference? No? Everyone comfortable with what's in there? Righto, so I've had a crack at what I think the procedure for the IOC review, and there is missing some details, and we've got this, a first draft of this in an actual procedure document that Brooke and I are sitting down on Friday to look at. So
I think I've got about at least half a dozen IDF meetings this week. I'm trying to catch up with what one's on what top part of IDF for what purpose.
Just move it to Monday, so
got a few problems in that space.
Oh,
Chris,
no.
wait till you hear the latest. Probably not the recording. So the procedure in my head, and I've just very rudimentarily written this down based on some of the really brief conversations I've happened with Brooke. So in terms of what will actually happen, and this is, apologies that this is still a work in progress and I can't say this is how it is. So the proponent or project manager, so it could be either gate 1 and 2 will be the proponent, gate 6 will be the project manager. So they're going to complete the required phase work, whatever's got to be done in that phase. So it could be the business case or, closeout activities, whatever it is. They're then going to email the relevant forms that they're required to for that gate. So the earlier gates, it's going to be those business case forms. For the later one, it's going to be the actual checklist. So they'll email that to the governance team mailbox, or somehow they'll get that to them.
Sorry, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Don't those phase work forms, templates, whichever for each gate, aren't they required to give them to asset governance as part of updating IPP, or no?
They will.
So I'm just concerned we're going to tell the proponent to send the same information to multiple channels.
It's the order. So what I'm concerned about is that we update IPP prior to actually getting a decision that it's okay to update IPP.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I'm just, we're relying on the proponent knowing different areas of the business to send information to at different gates for different projects. We're relying on them to know that.
Yeah.
Because, for example, say I'm a project manager and I've got a significant project and it's at gate 1, I've got a standard project, I've got an advanced one that I'm managing.
Yep.
Okay, hang on, I've got to remember for this one, because it's at this gate, I'm sending this stuff this way, but all these other ones are going this way.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
So I don't know what anyone else's thoughts are on that.
I agree. If we don't manage that right, people are going to get confused. They'll just cast a wide net and send it to everyone.
I feel like if it's manual at the moment and they're to go to asset governance for certain things, then I don't know, I kind of feel like maybe asset governance and governance needs to get aligned and we just tell them to send it to one point.
So where the IOC
triage which way it's got to go depending on the gates and the decision making.
So where the IOC is not required, it goes direct to the sponsor
for a sign off.
It doesn't go to asset governance.
Okay.
So then the question is, does it go to, do we just say it goes to the sponsor and the sponsor will know if the IOC is required?
Sponsors are what? GM?
Level 3.
Level 3 or GM.
So is this only when there's the manual process in place? When it's ordered? So the manual.
It's only a couple of
When it's automated, what happens?
When it's automated, you will just get the proponent will press complete already, and if it says yes to IOC, then it'll send a notification.
Who determines it says yes to IOC?
That happens in gate 0.
But then does the system automate that, or do they have to tick it?
Someone will have to tick it. So in gate 0, as part of the workflow for gate 0, it's the line manager to approve. And then it goes to who the relevant GM basically is, or the CEO if it's significant, to assign a sponsor and to say whether the IOC is required. So we've got it set up that if it's significant, it automatically changes to yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to
Otherwise,
rely on
default
someone
no.
ticking yes.
Well, in the manual process, can we just, for the meantime, can it just be explicit on the checklist who it gets
Yeah.
sent to? Like, that's what most of our forms have. Send this to finance, send this to, maybe it needs a minute.
You know, even there's only a handful of them, or a dozen, slightly more than 2 hands. Even if you just say, if this is significant investment, send to IOC. Even if we get it and it's gate 3, it's easy for governments to go, oh, this doesn't need our review, and move it on. Do you know what I mean?
Can I suggest that majority of the time the proponent's going to be Ericsson, which presents another problem like
It
that.
does, yeah.
Ericsson's a proponent and he's on the IOC.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
We're going to have conflict.
I've sent that through as feedback for the terms of reference, and it was just a quorum of, so if you are Erickson, then you just step away from the recommendation. Is that how we do it?
Yeah. So my intent was to, using my governance expertise and seeing these things in practice in meetings, was to observe how that eventuated. But in my opinion, there's two sides to it. There is value being provided in the room to give explanation. If there's questions and things like that around a particular project that isn't clear from the documentation necessarily, but that when you get into the debate and discussion on do we agree if this should proceed, that's when, using an example, Erickson, shouldn't participate, should just sit and listen, not influence, if that makes sense. So I was going to monitor that as we went.
Yeah. The reality is what's going to come back here is probably sitting within my sphere of work. So I'm happy to step out, but also if needed to clarify, I'm happy to contribute, otherwise it's just be mute.
Yeah, so I do think there's value in being able to clarify where there's questions and you need more information about the project. Yeah. But when you start getting into debates around, oh, I don't think we should proceed with this because of X, Y, Z, or no, I think we should because then it's a different view.
And at the end of the day, the risk is low because you're not making a decision, you're making a recommendation. So it's even lower that risk, I guess, if you stay in the room. I don't think there's any reason to leave.
So out of all that, Lisa, can we just do the forms say where to send stuff to?
No, but I'm going to add that to them.
Good suggestion, Chris.
Well,
so with the first,
someone send me an email.
with the first box as well.
We can't get past first box. Yeah.
What power does governance have for you to get the thing and just go, you're not even going to the second box because you haven't filled this thing out? Like, is that something that we need to do?
Oh, that'll be something I'll manage as part of the chair process. I'll probably go back to the proponent and say, look, you sent this through. There's really little information here. I could take it through if you want, but the likelihood is we're going to say no, don't proceed because it's not clear. Do you want to have another crack first? You know, and go from there.
Yeah, I'm expecting that with this one.
Okay, so we've completed the phase work. We've got it on the form where we've got to send it. So we've emailed it to the governance mailbox or whatever that ends up being. So the governance team gets it and they're going to manage and facilitate when a meeting has to happen. Enter Rachel.
So will we still use the what's that, system docs?
No.
Good. So we scrapped it. I just did my head in someone trying to give me a crash course in it.
Yeah,
and centralised, but one business area really uses it. There's two technically, but one mainly. Yeah. But no, I don't think it adds enough value to this process.
It did add value when you had a lot going through the IOC to manage that. You needed it, but yeah, we don't need it. So governance team will then manage it, the agenda, arranging the meeting, and then facilitating that meeting. Then obviously we then have the meeting. So as part of the IOC, you're required to review. There's a checklist for each of the gates, so 1, 2 and 6. On gates 1 and 2, it's just the IOC and sponsor reviewing or filling in that. Whereas for gate 6, there's a part A and part B. So the project manager will fill out part A and then part B will be for the IOC and sponsor. So I'm saying IOC and sponsor because we haven't made it a separate one for IOC because you're answering the same questions. So really you'll fill out and answer the questions, put your comments and say, decide which recommendation you're going with. And then that will go to the sponsor and they'll be able to assess whether they agree basically, and if they don't then they can put commentary, and they do have a separate field for them to say what their final decision is, and there's a field on the approval of what your recommendation is, so that holds, if that makes sense. We'll have a look at that, the actual forms. So you've made a recommendation, it then goes back to the governance team. Obviously they take it from the meeting, record the recommendation, and needs to then notify the sponsor and the proponent or project manager of is basically moved to the next step, and then the sponsor then has to review the checklist and the recommendation, make the actual gate decision, and at that point they email the asset governance team to update the IPP. Whether that's the right order, I think that happens fairly quickly, and we're not talking a huge number of these. So sometimes, I guess, how I see it really, you will only be meeting to discuss one. I don't think you're going to have multiple.
I don't think you're going to have multiple projects on the same meeting.
Yeah, so it might be.
It could happen. We say that now, and then we'll get two at once.
Yeah, but it's not like we've got 10.
A gate one and a gate. A new one and a current one.
Well, it sounds like there's this flood happening, so we might have a few come in. But anyway, it's pretty rudimentary, but I think the key is making this simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
overthink it.
No, and let's work with it. This is from Dot. We are doing changes in Tech 1 at the moment, where we're still exploring, I guess, the length of kind of that automated workflow or semi-automated workflow can actually be built in. I've asked and certainly written in my notes of what I've been working with the consultant on, building in the IOC approval, so it's a notification, so it all happens out of Tech 1, and it's not automated. I got in trouble for that. It's a kind of semi-automated process. Sarah corrects me every time. I mean, it's automated compared to what we're coming from, so yeah. By the end of the week, Brooke, I'll have an update of where that is and how we've landed, and we'll talk through that in one of those multiple IDF meetings. Any questions on that? Clear as mud. Good. So the checklist, there's 3 of them. Has anyone had a look at these?
Very loosely.
Very loosely. Contacting the server. The server's unavailable.
These sit in ECM, don't they?
I do.
Yeah.
They're sitting templates. They're on the connected page. Yeah, they're on the connected page.
Certificate, whatever it is.
Just say yes.
Oh dear. Okay, voila, here's where they sit. So do you guys all know where to get to this on Connected? We're all trained up and excellent. So we'll start. I just want to quickly have a brief look at each of them.
I should laugh, Lisa. I did a training session on Beacon this morning and went, here, when you want to search and filter, you do this, and nothing showed up. It doesn't work.
You have to do
I tested it last week.
Mark II version of an IOC training, because this one's.
Yeah, the recording will be great.
Yeah.
Oh, no, everything's.
Did they move them? They probably moved them because that's documents under development.
No, sorry, I'm trying another space. I'm just gone to the collab space for the actual project, not.
Let me see what I can find on here.
No, everything's.
You're connected by Wi-Fi?
You're not.
Are you is the little globe, are you connected with the little?
No, because we're connected into the office, it automatically, you don't need to click. You still would have a Wi-Fi signal at the bottom, which you don't.
Alright.
What do you want? What are you clicking here? Let me see.
Oh, I am.
I've got it. It does work. It's just your computer, sorry. Gate 1. IOC and or sponsors to complete.
No internet. We've got issues happening here. Who is that? Burning.
We don't know it anymore.
I'm like, Kim's on mute.
No, burning.
Yeah, I don't have internet, so it's not.
It's all good. They are there, so.
Yeah, we can.
We don't have to go
we
into
can-
detail.
yeah, it's something we can look at.
Okay,
So let's-
so really each of the checklists, there's just a series of questions, exactly like the previous set. We have tweaked them a little bit, just to be more targeted around the questions, and also in the big change, I guess, from what you would have seen on Gate 0 is Gate 0 was very heavy with the actual problem statement. We've shifted a lot of those questions back into Gate 1. So Gate 0 is where you get your vision and current situation and basically no more. And then Gate 1 is where you have your actual problem statement and business context and that sort of stuff. So some of those questions are shifted.
Can you, I was going to use a bad word then, can you stop or cease a project or recommend ceasing a project as in not proceeding at all?
Correct.
Sorry, I'm just looking at one of these then, it's got gate recommendation, approved, proceed, not approved, need more information. What about not approved, don't do it all?
That's not approved.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we need to make that more clearer. So there's 4 decisions that can be made. So proceed, keep going the next phase. It's approved, it's approved, but hold because we're going to wait for funding or wait for something.
So there's really 2 decisions, approved or not approved, and they've got a subset. One's approved, keep going, one's approved, conditions.
Yeah, basically.
One's not approved, need more information, or not approved, don't do.
Correct.
Basically.
Yeah. They're the decisions all the way through until you get to Gate 5 and 6. Obviously in 6 you don't have the option to not proceed. Not proceed anymore. It really is, yes, you're complete, or I need more information. You're not complete, go back and do a bit more and come back to me. So, yeah. Someone said that to me, I said, well, it's more relevant at Gate 5, I guess, but I'm not sure. It's not certainly in the 80-20 rule or in that 20 anyway. It's probably not even in the 1%, where you build something or do something and then go, no, revert, revert. But that I have seen that in the world where you do something and then realise whatever that you then got to go back on the investment. Big apartment buildings in Sydney. Okay, so any other questions on the checklist? Are you comfortable to just go and have a look at them?
Yeah.
It's really going to be relevant when you start working through and actually using them. You've all seen this. This is the Boyne-Tanham Aquatic Centre, and we just run through the example. And I guess it's just really understanding you're in 1, 2 and 6. The key thing is where council comes in or not. So even if council was to resolve, so the Boyne-Tanham pool, they were the ones that did the, initial Gate 0 approval basically by resolution, and they said, go do a business case, which meant officers then had to do the first 2 phases and then go back to them at Gate 2. Even though it's then making the decision, the IOC is still involved. So just because it's council resolution, we're still going to pass it through the IOC. It's just a step in the process. That was really the only key message in one of them. There's no difference, I guess, if it's sponsor or council making the decision for you guys. Any questions on that or no?
The only thing I would say to the team is that subject to any directions around timing for a council decision may warrant us to have bring forward, have a, meeting at short notice, if that makes sense, because sometimes that influence can influence, if they say, no, we want to make a decision at this meeting, which is, there's deadlines 2 weeks before for reports and the rest, we may need to quickly convene or do something via flying email or something. Just to be conscious of that, obviously.
Yeah.
Will we have a collab space for IOC? Because I think that was one of the intentions
Hadn't thought about it.
Yes, so, if you want one, yes, we've got a space, you can have it. So as part of, and this was one of the things I was going to talk to you about, so here we go. As part of the new IDF connected site, there is a collab space attached to that, which at the moment, the only people that have access into it is Danielle and I. So that space has not been set up for anything yet and can be set up however we would like it. To me, I think that space is governance and the workings around, I guess, the improvement stuff and monitoring, as well as IOC and then the champions. To me, I think they're the group of people that have potentially got access into that.
How many champions do we have? 10.
So external to the project team and this group, which I've nominated you're welcome.
It was by default.
Welcome, champions.
Well, it doesn't matter. I was already on it.
Oh, we've got a double whammy. You got a triple whammy because on this too.
Sorry, I was just registering in my head, and I actually think Club Space is a good spot for the IOC, and we could actually put papers and agendas and things on there instead of emailing large files, because I imagine some of this stuff's going to be large files. But I'm not sure I want every champion seeing the IOC
projects.
Well, there's probably no need for
So I'm not thinking about that, but I think that's probably a good spot to have the information. I'll make Rachel administrator of that site.
I think it's a great way, because as you read documents, you can put in your comments, and when you do meet physically, you already know what people have already said.
Well, I'm just thinking too, like some stuff that's at, got a design report or something like that could be quite large. I don't want to email that around to everyone.
Yeah.
So certainly can be, you don't have to have the champions in there, and maybe there's no need because they'll be able to see the improvement ideas and they'll be able to see enough. It's just when you start working on improvement stuff, if there's a document you need their input on.
Tell me if I'm wrong here, because I'm not 100% across all the collab spaces, but if you've got a document in a collab space and you share that link with the edit ability, they can get that document.
Correct.
Yeah, well, then we just do it that way if you ever have that issue.
And that's what I did today with the lessons learned. That sat in the Select the Right Projects collab space, and I just shared the link to everyone. And I've seen heaps of people in it that aren't in that project team. So that's a blank canvas for you, if you like blank canvases.
I'd love another connected site to manage.
Hopefully we've set this one up good, so it's a good starting point. Any questions on the examples of how this works? So IDF champions, I know I've said I've by default added you all. You do have a choice.
No. At least being nice, no.
Whether I'll say you have a choice, but whether you like it or not, Brooke will just come to you as an IOC member. The point of the champion is not onerous. There is no terms of reference or a working group or anything like that. In my view, and the message has been, eventually everyone should be a champion in the business, because it is something of a way we should be doing things, as opposed to just this shiny thing that we're going to forget after a couple of months or next week when I drive out. So the champion, I guess, the roles or the things we're expecting, champion the benefits of the IDF to the business. So it's really just when someone's bagging it, just understand why they're bagging it and say, well, maybe there's a different side to it. Don't bag it as well, please. Provide advice to the business on the application of the IDF. That's probably the key line item for the success of this, is having people that really understand and know it and being able to support each other. And if you're not sure, then phone a friend to get support, because we have created this on an 80-20 rule. There will be cases that it's not clear cut where things sit. And also to assist Brooke where there's issues or improvements and sort of brainstorm those solutions and help outwork some of that. So that's all it is. There's not regular meetings, it's on an as needs basis. So I imagine she'll corner all of you in an IOC meeting if needed also. So.
There's this project we need to collectively get together and review. I'll give you the agenda on the day.
But yeah, are you guys comfortable if I'm calling you champions as well, or there's no big stern, well, you're in on too far, Chris.
You're a champion's champion.
Champion.
You're the champion.
Should pay more attention in all those weekly catch-ups.
All those nice comments. Yes, so that is all I had for today. Was there anything else that you were expecting to see or had questions or comments about?
I guess when would we, I know it's based on projects, but from any point from today, this process starts?
Monday next week.
Monday, yeah.
And depending how quickly I get this opportunity brief and the councillors make a decision on it, you'll probably see one with a gate 1 documentation probably in the next.
Well, they can't make a decision until at least mid next month.
Councillors on that one. Okay.
Well, unless, you know, I don't know if it's going to CIS or general meeting.
I just got told get it done and the council's got to take it to the forum to put it on the table to initiate. Council
Is it next week forum?
It's not going to be.
They won't go into that one because I won't get it done by
It's
then.
not going to be on the council. It won't be a council forum. It'll be through a CIS. I'll talk to
Okay.
Carly. I've heard a little bit about that, but
Which reports?
councillor forums, they're not
There's no
meetings.
structure.
There's no structure. They're topics predetermined in advance.
Okay.
They're a workshop.
They're a workshop essentially. So we've told them in the training last week.
Last week.
Whatever. Oh yeah, that's right. 'Cause
But you did an awesome job, yeah.
We told them it would go through CIS.
Okay.
The initial opportunity brief to get feedback on whether or not there was appetite to progress a particular opportunity.
So a
And would that then go to a general meeting for resolution or?
Hands on
Yeah.
and,
So if there's full, I guess, appetite there, then that's effectively gate 0 approval and away we go.
it. Yeah.
I'm actually interested that they've actually come back out and filled one out, because I thought a lot of the discussion was about how they avoided the IDF.
yeah.
In your trainings, like I said,
I know this particular one that it's about, and
Yeah.
this isn't a project that hasn't reared its head in discussions already.
Yeah.
Particularly through budget and other things, and I've
Yeah.
heard about this one on and off for a while.
Yeah,
I think this is now that they've seen this as a framework opportunity to actually get a clear
the decision on outcome on it,
to
okay.
proceed or not, which is fine. That's what it should be for. Like if I was a councillor and kept raising something and not getting a clear answer and it kept just going on for months and months, then you want to have a point in time where you get a yes or a no.
Yeah,
So I think they've seen this as, okay, well, I want to use that now because I want an answer on this, if that makes sense. So,
yeah, it does,
yeah.
I just thought a lot of the discussion was about, well, how do we avoid the IDF? You know, what if we want to do this and what if we want to do that?
I think they were trying to use examples that
Yeah,
where they thought the IDF was going to bog down
yeah, that's what they're
their
trying to
quick
do, yeah.
decisions that they would do, not realising that their decisions still have to go through general meeting.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff
Yeah.
anyway.